Yo, what's good YouTube? In today's video, we're going over my top 5 meta SMGs after the update. If y'all enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like for the algorithm, subscribe with notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, so for our first SMG here today, we're going to be getting into the Superior 46. The reason we're giving you guys this SMG is because it's got basically one of the fastest movement speeds in the entire game, and you can really close the gap on a lot of people when you're using this SMG, which does make up for some of the lack in damage range after a couple of nerfs. This thing is still absolutely incredible, and you guys should be using it. So first thing is going to be the Quartermaster Suppressor. This is going to be a reoccurring theme here within this top 5. The Quartermaster is our go-to on pretty much all of our ARs, SMGs, everything else like that. LMGs, doesn't matter. The Quartermaster is indeed the way to go. So you guys should I recommend for you guys to run that. Outside the barrel section, a couple options in here. Realistically speaking, you can run the Zulu OP3 light barrel, which is going to be pretty solid and give you that like aim walking movement speed. Overall, it doesn't do a whole lot besides give you crouch movement speed, aim walking speed, but overall I like to run the Bore 99 short barrel. I like to increase my movement as much as possible without, pretty much shocking my recoil, which that pretty much that Quartermaster is gonna, get rid of all of our recoil we happen to have. And the Bore is really gonna allow us to close that gap and get closer to people, or jump and slide around people. It's pretty nuts. It's really ridiculous when someone has a high movement superior on you in game because they can slide around you. It's crazy. Under barrel section, couple options in here. I've seen people go for that Jack Slash. That is a good option if you guys like running the Jack Slash on your builds. This is going to be a great one for you. You can run the XRK Edge, which is going to be a great option, but my preference is going to be the DR6 hand stop. So between the DR6, the XRK Edge, and even frankly, if you want to go over here, run the paracord grip, you're not really going to be too bad off with the paracord or the Jack Slash, but overall, my preference is the DR6. I like the ADS speed, aim walking speed, sprint to fire speed, and movement speed. Great benefits, doesn't mess me up in any capacity, and I really do enjoy how it feels on this specific build. At that magazine section, of course, you got to go through on the 40 round mag. If you're not throwing on the 40 round mag, you're just kind of doing it wrong. Not really sure why you would not throw on a 40 round mag for this thing. The base 30 just doesn't make sense. At that, we're gonna go to the stock section for our last attachment to go through on the Rescue 9 stock. So this is gonna be, in my opinion, the best stock you guys can run because the Superior excels at movement speed, and if you want a little bit more strafe speed, you're gonna have to sacrifice some of that overall movement by using the Jack Cutthroat. This will give you that strafe speed if you're really looking for that, but overall, I think the Rescue 9 is the way to go to be able to jump, slide around. Then you can really even utilize some of the hipfire too because you're able to move around so quickly and easily. So I really enjoy this. Every SMG's got its strengths and weaknesses, and of course, the strength of this gun is definitely its ability to move very, very quickly. So this is going to be the ideal build for it. Next up, let's give you guys a build here with the Striker. This is going to actually be my PR breaking build where I dropped 55 kills on rebirth and quads, solo quads. This is absolutely ridiculous, and I really enjoy the Striker. I think this is a really hard-hitting, underrated SMG. So first attachment is, of course, going to be the Quartermaster Suppressor. Ain't got to explain that one too much for y'all. After that, we're gonna go to the barrel section, and there's basically two options in here. So if you want to use the exact barrel and setup that I used to break my PR, of course, I'm going to give that to you, but I'll give you a couple options on how to run the Striker otherwise. So my go-to in the barrel section is going to be the Striker Recon Long Barrel. I don't think you need the Elite Long Barrel because this, of course, helps your overall recoil. And you can see if you look at the, the damage range statistics, your effective minimum, and your bullet velocity, it's not nearly as good as if you just use the regular Recon Long Barrel. And of course, there's no sort of benefits to your recoil control, but the Striker has very little recoil. So if anyone's ever used the Striker, I mean, if you'll know what I'm talking about. It doesn't have hardly any, so there's no reason to slow yourself down and throw in a barrel that's got less range to control that recoil. Doesn't make sense. After that, we're going down here to the magazine section, throw on the 48 round mag. Listen, I'm normally a 60 round mag kind of guy, but every time, 10 times out of 10, I'm going for the 48 as opposed to the 60 on this gun. It doesn't have a crazy fast fire rate, and 48 rounds is more than sufficient when you're trying to use this gun. So no reason to go for anything higher. Optic section, you guys can go up in here, and there's a couple optics you can use. Of course, you can run the Jack Glassless, which is a pretty tried and true optic. We run on so many of our different SMGs, ARs, LMGs, battle rifles. I mean, it just works great for everything. It's like the Quartermaster. It's just the jack of all trades. Works awesome. So you have that right there. That's going to be a great option. I don't run that too much. The Sight Reflector is going to be another great one for you guys that actually want to be able to use that. That's a pretty solid sight. And then my preference is actually going to be down here just a little bit more so, which is going to be the Niter Model 2023. This is a great optic along. Also, if you guys want to use the MK3 reflector, that's a pretty solid one as well. But I like the way I can see through this thing. It feels just very satisfying, and I'm very efficient when I use this. So for me, this red dot is going to be my choice. But overall, like Jack glasses, you know, MK3, it doesn't really matter what you use. That is a personal preference thing. Lastly, we're gonna go to the stock section. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go all the way down to the very end and throw on the no stock attachment. This is definitely going to be the way to go. You guys don't need to go ahead and run like you know, an actual stock. I mean, it's gonna have very little recoil anyways. If you feel like the recoil is going to get you, run the Lockman MK2, and this is going to be great. This will give you that extra boost in speed and everything, but it's not going to mess your recoil at all. If you can deal with a little bit of the extra recoil, which is going to be very, very minimal in my opinion, then I recommend for you guys to run the no stock. That'll be good to go right there. And that's going to be my full build, my PR breaking build. But if you guys want to not run a long barrel, you can go on down here to the ammunition side of things and throw on the auto high grain rounds. And you could also even take off the Nahv model 2023 and go down here and throw on like a DR6, an XRK Edge, or something like that. So pretty much like a few different variations of builds to be able to run. All right, now let's jump in here and give you guys the build for the static HV. This is going to be like your #1 possible SMG right now to use. This was used to win the World Series of Warzone, this exact build. So I'll give it to you guys here right now. First thing, of course, quartermaster. Barrel section, we're gonna go throw on the Auger 840 light barrel. This has no cons toward damage range, so there's no real reason for us to, you know, switch this out. So I'd recommend for you guys to use the Auger 840 light barrel, and this will be good to go for that. So just run this. No reason to run any of these other ones. Doesn't really make sense. We're using this as a close range SMG. You want to have peak mobility. We're gonna go down here to underbarrel section. We're gonna throw on the Jack Slash. This is going to be one of those guns where I'd recommend for you guys to use it actually quite a bit. The Jack Slash is really great on here. Also, the DR6 would be my other go-to. I pretty much only switch between the DR6 and the Jack Slash, but overall, if you're trying to run the basically the exact build that they used to win $1 million within World Series of Warzone, this is going to be the best one right here. So the Jack Slash is going to be what they ran, and it's what I've been also running too. It works out great. After that optic section, we're gonna throw on the Jack Glassless. This is, of course, the optic that pretty much all the pro players use. I've used this. I've also used the Nahv model 2023 quite a bit when I'm actually running this myself. So pretty much whatever red dot set you want to run, but this will lessen some of your visual recoil, which is pretty nice. So if you guys feel like the static has that visual, then you won't really have to deal with that too much. Lastly, in the stock section, just throw on the Spry 34 light stock. No reason to kind of go down there, run the no stock, and these other ones, it doesn't really make sense. Just throw on the Spry 34 and you'll be good to go at close range. This is going to be an absolute heater build, #1 meta SMG. Next up, I want to give you guys a build here for the Rival 9. This is one of those SMGs that I feel like is very slept on. It's got a great damage profile nowadays, and it's just something that's absolutely incredible. So I'd recommend for you guys to actually use this, try it out for yourselves, because they buffed this thing like 8, 9, 10 times. Like I said, always quartermaster suppressor. But now we're gonna get into the barrel section. So this is where we're gonna kind of choose either one of two barrels. Basically, the Rival C clear shot is gonna extend out your range. It's not gonna slow you down too much, which is really awesome. But I've also happened to run, I believe it was the fire starter barrel, which is really good as well. I mean, it does mess your recoil control, but it does increase your overall movement. And you can see your effective damage range is already 15 meters, which is pretty good. So you don't technically need the clear shot barrel, which will extend this out, but it does increase your bullet velocity and all that stuff. And the movement penalties are very, very minimal at the maximum of like 3%. So it's kind of worth running, and it extends out your range farther than pretty much every other SMG in this list. I think this is basically tied for that striker build I just gave you guys. After that, we're gonna go to the underbarrel section. We're gonna go down here and throw on the DR6. Definitely want to speed this up as much as possible. The DR6 is the way to go. Don't think you should be running the XRK Edge. I've been going over this and saying you normally to use the DR6, but for me personally, when I use the XRK Edge, because it's got an increase in that ADS movement speed, it's got like an 8 or 9% right now, and then the DR6 has a 6%. For whatever reason, when I use the XRK Edge, it seems like when I'm strafing back and forth, my gun tends to bounce around a little bit too much in the iron sights, and I don't like that. So I just go for the DR6, and that just seems to be perfectly fine for me. It's like that weird 3% increase tends to be a little bit too much and makes them jiggle around. So I try to avoid that. After that magazine section, I'm going to throw on the 40 round mag. I think the 40 round mag is the way to go. The 50 is going to slow you down a little bit too much. The reload speed's actually pitifully slow. Your reload quickness is the exact same as if you're reloading a stock magazine on this, but if you go over to the 50 round drum, it is going to be a 30% increase in your reload speed. So it's actually pretty brutal for an extra 10 rounds in the mag. I just sooner go for the 40 and be faster with it. I've actually used this and dropped some 40 bombs. It's definitely the way to go. Lastly, in the stock section, what we're going to do is we're going to go throw on the Rival F8 Tactical. This is really solid here just because it increases your hipfire attack stance, spread, and walking speed. sprint to fire speed, and of course movement speed. It's pretty much one of the better ones in here. I mean, this one is actually not too bad as well, the Bruin Flash, but overall there's a couple extra benefits in here like that I really do enjoy on the rival FA, like the sprint to fire, and this one does not have that. And then you can also run the stockless mod too, but keep in mind you will experience a decent bit more recoil. I can handle that, but I know a lot of people out there struggle with recoil, so I just go for the rival FA tactical and pretty much call it a day. Last but definitely not least, I want to give you guys a build here for the WSP9, which is frequently referred to as the Milano. I saved a lot of these variants, so I'm trying to make creative blueprints. But overall, this is a fantastic SMG that's very hard hitting. So of course, we're gonna throw on the Quartermaster here as our first attachment. Barrel section, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down here, throw on the Hiss short light barrel. This is really solid. You guys can enjoy using this here quite a bit. This is the only barrel in here that's going to give you crazy like ADS speed, sprint to fire speed, and sprint speed without messing with your recoil control too much, or your bullet velocity or something else like that. There's a lot of barrels in here that I don't think are going to be all that useful unless you're trying to make this like a sniper sport or something else like that. So the Hiss short light barrel will definitely be good to go. This is going to be pretty much like your go-to close range barrel on this gun. After that, we're gonna go up in here to the underbarrel section. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go throw on that DR6. Like I said, the DR6 just works out great, and specifically when you're using the iron sights on this gun, you don't want that extra jiggle because sometimes it can get really difficult to use the iron sights if it has that jiggle. So I would say to go for the DR6 to speed yourself up as much as possible without getting that weird sort of iron sight jiggle. You can test it out for yourself and see if it still feels like that to you, but for me, that's what it does, and I feel like I'm a pretty good player, so I just prefer to eliminate that, make my life a little bit easier when I'm trying to use a gun. Magazine section for our next one, we're going to throw on the 40 round mag. You can, if you really want to, throw on the 50. Keep in mind you will be a decent bit slower. It's not like a crazy decrease, but I feel like I do see that, you know, in my gameplay when I'm using the 50 round as opposed to 40. But you know, you can still definitely use it. I've used the 50 successfully, I've used the 40 successfully. I just sometimes enjoy a little bit more mobility, and because this isn't a super fast fire rate gun, 40 rounds seems to be pretty good. But for the purposes of this, you guys can just throw on the 50 and be okay with that. Lastly, we're gonna go to the stock section. We're gonna throw on the WSP factory stock, giving us an increase in mobility without really messing with our recoil control. The iron sights are still gonna be unbelievably still. If you could throw on something like the no stock, which is what I will do frequently, you will experience that increase in sort of like recoil. So you can throw on the WSP factory, and this can be your full build right here. You can actually take this off, throw on the no stock, and then you're gonna experience a little bit of that increase in your visual recoil. So what you can do is take off the Hiss short light barrel and throw on something like Jag glasses, and that'll be another variation of a build. But that's been my top 5. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, check out this other video on screen, and I'll see you all next time.